Welcome to Belief, Being, and Beyond with your host, Granddaughter Crow. Hi, everybody. Granddaughter Crow here with yet another episode of Belief, Being, and Beyond. And it's getting fall outside, and it is, the time the kids are probably going back to school, that maybe you're going to college, maybe you're a parent, and now all of a sudden you have to go back to work or you're a teacher. And so all of that summer magic and movement is kind of like, how do I shift gears with a little bit more of a rigid schedule as we go into fall and then, of course, the winter? So we were thinking about you guys. We are bringing to you today Rene Collins. He is a magician and a musician. You got to check him out, magicalintelligence.com. He's been interested in Qigong, then the mastery of it. And he has devoted, since he was like 13, and he also devoted himself to learning the magical arts in Western, Eastern, and African magical spiritual traditions. There is so much that I could say. But let's just go ahead and bring him on. Rene, welcome to the show.
Thank you so very, very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Jenny, think it's great. We met at Spirit Northwest, and she taught a wonderful class in magic making, and we became buddies after that. And Granddaughter Crow, thank you for putting me on the show, and all of your work is amazing. So thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome. So tell us a little bit more, tell the listeners a little bit more about your magical path and how now it's kind of developed into Qigong movement for the pagan community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, well, I started out in the martial arts at 13 years old, and that's where I learned about Qi. In Chinese Kung Fu called Chole Foot, this is in San Francisco. It's a southern style of Qigong, of martial art, Chinese martial art. And the teacher there gave a Qi demonstration where he held three people on his arms who were like 6 feet tall and 200 something pounds, and he was like 5'5" and 100 and I don't know, change or something like that. He could lift them up with one arm, and they're like trying to bend his arm, and he goes, "Look, I can look at my fingers." That was like blew us all away, and I became obsessed with what is this inner power, this quality, this chi, this life. And then later on in my 20s, I was initiated into Thelema through a personal instructor through the AA, and I got trained in standard practical, magical, and mystical approaches, and luckily, yay, OTO, yay, OTO, and then luckily with that training in Thelema, because of Aleister Crowley, he blends the East and the West. So I spent a great deal of time, like 6 hours a day, just doing meditation and magic. My teacher would like 12 hours, 15 hours a day. We were kind of like maniacs at the time. I don't recommend that for anybody. You need to do like 12 hours a day. You don't need to do that. But we were just like really hooked into what is going on. And after that, I became I got initiated into other Eastern disciplines through the Blue Dragon School in San Francisco, where I learned about Zen meditation. Then I got into chaos magic, and then the whole thing, and then long story short, ended up in Egyptian African traditions, and got all that under my belt. And I have teachers that I still commune with and I still learn from. This sort of like postgraduate, kind of situation, not postgraduate situation. And then what happened was, a long time ago when I was in the circus, I was an acrobat in the circus for like 12 years. And I was also studying magic, and I was also doing meditation, and I was also doing practice of Qigong. And I was in Fresno, California, and this circus is a one-ring circus. And there's no animals, it's just a stage and a trapeze and a backdrop. And what we would do is do free shows in the park for the children, and then bring them in to do a show with us. So it's a free show, so it's called Make a Circus. Anyway, we're in Fresno, there's a big storm coming, and they were gonna have to cancel the show. And we said, we can't cancel the show because we're booked and we're not able to come back. And so there was all this, people were like, "What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?" I says, "Well, I'm a magician. Why don't I do something?"
Right? Why don't you do something, Renee?
So I did some Tai Chi like moves to get myself into a altered state of consciousness, and I began to contemplate the weather patterns. What causes a storm, and what tarot card would be connected to that activity? Okay, so clouds are okay. Well, that's going to be the Queen of Swords. And then what we want to have more sun, and and so we want the wind. That's going to be. So I began to, through my third eye, project that into the clouds. And after about a half hour, about maybe I saw a large hole open up in the sky south of us. And the clouds were moving towards us as the hole was moving towards us. And as it got closer, it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it completely engulfed the entire city. It's just all blue sky, and it was a complete circle around us that went for like miles. So we did the show, and then the show takes about 3 hours, and that includes packing down so we have to take down the bleachers and roll up the carpets and take down the trapeze and take apart the trapeze and roll up the cables and pull up the stakes and take down the backdrop. And meanwhile, the clouds are growing smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and we're like, uh oh. so
Ah,
and it's
tick tock.
tick tock, tick tock. Mother's holding it for a little while, and, as soon as we close and lock the gate of the truck, the water came down, and that was my experience of blending the Qigong practice with Western magic. And I thought, this is really interesting, and that
Wow.
set the course for what I teach now, Magical Qigong. Yeah.
Wow. I'm kind of speechless because I'm like, that is so beautiful because you were working. And I honestly think that the more that you are dedicated to a path, it is about building a relationship, finding the energy, connecting with the energy really quickly because it's a part of you and doing that. So did you go back to your teacher that was only 5 foot whatever that could hold up three 6 foot tall guys and still wiggle his fingers and say, yeah, well, I can make a hole in the clouds?
I haven't. I saw him one time a long time ago in San Francisco before I moved to New York. He's actually was running a pizza place. He wasn't teaching that much anymore, unfortunately. I asked him. I said, Jeff, man, remember Rene when I was 13? He goes, oh, hey. He goes, yeah. Were you teaching? He goes, I was. I had one student, and I taught him, and now I'm just running this pizza joint. I says, well, I hope you start teaching again because you got me started. He goes, yeah, well, I hope so too. But in the practice of Qigong, everything is Qigong, right? Whether
Okay.
you're teaching a kid or running a pizza place or raising a family, you know what I mean? So
The way.
yeah, there's no separation. That's still his Qigong, so you still practicing no matter what.
So that obviously begs the next question. What is Qigong, Qigong, Qigong? How do you say it? And what is it? What is it?
I know. It's so strange yeah. So if you were to say the word chi, right, then that would be fine. Chi is the Southern Cantonese chi. Qi would be like Mandarin and Northern. And if you go to the West, I heard it's Xi, X-I, Qigong, Qigong. So it's either Qigong, Qigong, or Qigong. I say Qigong with the Q, This is one of my teachers here around there for men. He wrote this book, Qigong Healing Prescriptions, which then inspired me to write this one for the pagan community, Magical Qigong, Awakening the Dragon. I gotta put a thought up. He's my main guy. But yeah, chi or ki or chi means life force energy. It's just the energy that runs throughout the entire body. It runs through the universe. It's in the plants. It's everywhere. It's in the air that you breathe. And gong means to cultivate over a long period of time, to be committed to. It's not like a one-off situation where I'm going to be doing this practice and leave it. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of living. It is the way of living, basically. So that's what Qigong means. And Magical Qigong is I guess, the name that I put to make it accessible to us, with the K. Magical Qigong is bringing the qigong into the pagan community to uh, to uh, to explain why do we have health issues. What are the health? Why is it that in our community we have diabetes? We've got edema. We've got circulation issues. We've got can qigong help explain why this is happening and produce remedies? And as it turns out, it can, and it does.
Oh my goodness. So, Jenny, what does this cultivate within you?
I did get to take a class with Renee when I was at Spirit Northwest. It was my first time traveling in a very long time. It was actually my first time traveling alone. And I felt so ungrounded because I didn't feel like super safe in the neighborhood we were. And so I wasn't going to go out and connect with the land. And I was like often on third floors or whatever, right? There's no earth beneath. I'm very Taurus and very grounded. Every morning I go outside. And so I felt really ungrounded. And I took his class. It was really well attended. They should have given him a better room or a bigger room. People had an amazing time, and you could feel in that class about halfway through the energy shift. I know it, like I felt it, but I could see it. There were some people that came in, they were uptight, they were anxious, they were all, and then halfway through his teaching, there was like a, and I felt so grounded. And that was the first night that I actually slept well in the hotel because I believe because of the class and the energy work that we did. So I felt like instant, I was like, I'm a believer because, like in an hour, I'm like feeling better for myself. But yeah, I love that. I think it's cool that you're blending what the pagan community, our needs are
Mm-hmm,
with something that, I think maybe a lot of them wouldn't explore on their own.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
so to me, I really love that because there are certain health issues. I've found this with a lot of spiritual people. They're very spiritual and they're not always grounded and they're not always in their body. They're in their
mm-hmm,
spirit. If we really get into the magical work,
mm-hmm.
we're not in our bodies
Right.
at all. And
Right.
so then what you're doing is helping us get into our bodies,
Yes.
right?
Yes. It's exactly what it is. There's a thing called Hun and Po. Uh, so you have these different intelligences. In my book, I call them the five attending spirits, but the Chinese refer to them as the Shen. The intelligence that runs your whole body. There's five of them. One of them is called Han, which lives in the liver, and it's also the spiritual, etherical part of the soul. Then you've got that uh, um, that is the process that allows us to be magical and to spirit travel. We spend a lot of time in that, a little bit too much. And there's a thing called the separation of Hun and Po, which is what my grandmaster told me. He said, "Why?" And I asked him this question about, because I'm teaching the witches. He goes, "A separation of Hun and Po," and I didn't understand, but now I know what he was talking about. When the Po is your animal spirit that keeps the body going, survival. Han is your ethereal spirit. You choose between one of the others, and in witchcraft or spiritualism, we spend so much time in that hun, we start floating off away from our bodies. And then when you do that, then the chi begins to dissipate in the body. Then
Oh,
you're sedentary and you're not moving.
yeah.
And then maybe you're not eating right. And then you're doing magic with energy that is low energy. So you're taxing the entire system, right? So the idea is to bring that connection back, the hun back, so it's connected with the body, and then strengthen the organ systems by doing qigong and certain postures and breathing in a particular way and certain movements so that we can increase and let the energy flow through the body, through the system, so that the mechanics can happen better.
Oh my goodness. And you teach these classes online too. I just want to say, I mean, we'll talk more about this, but we're sitting down with Rene Collins, magicalintelligence.com. And I'm just going to spell it for you listeners out there. It's just Magical, no K or anything like that. Magical Intelligence, intelligence.com. Did I win? Now do I have to like put it in
Got it. You
this?
got it.
I
Yes.
got it. So you guys go check them out because this is what we love on Belief Being and Beyond. We love to bring people who can help us to expand our belief system, our knowledge, our understanding, our beingness that actually walk the walk. The people who can actually tell us like why does, like what you just said in a weird way, guys. I thought he was calling me out. He was like, some people spend so much time flying around the room, and I'm like, damn, he's calling me out. He's calling
No, the present company is not involved. No, no.
So that's okay. That's okay because I will be the guinea pig with this because, through the summer, I think our body changes because of the temperature and it constitutes how maybe what we crave in food. Maybe there's like people go on vacation, kids are out of school, or maybe, you're off at college, or maybe you're a teacher. And so our energy level is different in the summertime. And now that we're coming into the fall, what changes within that system? Could you talk to us a little bit and maybe give us a tip on, sit up straight or whatever, move like this or whatever. Could you
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about how the season changes and how that impacts?
absolutely, absolutely. The journey around the wheel or journey around the sun. It's my grandmaster created the system. I just adapted it to us. And you're absolutely right, granddaughter Crow. The seasons directly affect our body. There's just nobody's exempt from that. And what happens and I'm gonna talk about the fall as well as the late summer because they're important to talk about. We call Indian summer, right?
Yes.
So whenever there's the heat rises, certain organs are then affected. When those organs are affected, it's the optimal time for you to do the qigong for that particular organ, right? So for the Indian summer, it's the stomach and spleen. Stomach is considered earth element. That's when all the fruits are are able to be eaten. So now you can eat. The dominating color is a yellow color, right?
Oh,
Right.
yes.
So when school starts at least here in LA, and it used to be September. Now it's August in Indian summer. What color are the school buses?
Hello.
What color is the number two pencil?
Yellow.
So the element that is most affected in the morning is the stomach because you've got to eat. That's breakfast. What color are your pancakes and eggs and orange juice?
Do you want
Yellow.
this one, Jenny? Yeah.
Yellow. Yeah.
Right. So you could see that within nature, Mother Nature is throwing stuff up to teach us certain things, right?
Oh,
So the same thing with the fall. With the fall is all about the returning. Everything is returning from the summer and the spring when things are alive. Now things are going within. The sap is returning. There's an inward energy, right?
yeah.
Within that inward energy is now we call that metal. It's called metal. Because we have the five elements, metal is considered connected to the fall, which represents the lungs.
Mm.
Now, lungs and large intestines. Now, what viruses and colds affect the lungs,
In
right?
the fall, yes.
Yeah. Cold
Fall,
and flu
right,
season.
right.
Hmm.
Flu season, COVID. COVID is a metal element, a metal element virus, and I'll explain to you what all that means.
Yeah.
But since the cold is dropping, our field of energy that protects us, because we're warm-blooded creatures, that drops. It gets cold. We no longer have the protection of the heat. So now what we need to do is generate internal heat called the Wu Ji field, right? And what this is basically your heat shield that you generate by breathing a certain way so that it can keep out the pathogens to protect your system. So that's
Interesting.
what so that's what we would do in the fall. Another thing too to look at is Samhain.
Yes.
Samhain is all about the veil, the dropping of the veil, which is a boundary.
Mm.
Well, the metal is all about boundaries and how we bond with others. Because we talked about this heat shield, which is a boundary. So now we're talking about another boundary, and that's the veil that drops. So our ancestors have come through. But it's not just our ancestors, it's all kinds of stuff coming through.
Right.
Unfriendly stuff. So we need to make sure that we all have this nice shield, appropriate energetic shield around our body in order to make sure that we have a clean spirit and not get assaulted, right? And so what we do is we will practice what's called the lung qigong. The system is called Golden Chi Ball set, which is what we did over at Spirit Northwest, and it's a system of 9 different moves that invigorate the lungs and the large intestinal system to promote the Wu Qi field around the body, so that you can stave off any kind of germs that's coming your way, basically. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah.
It, yeah, I mean, it's blowing my mind, but it actually, I've never heard it explained like that, but it makes perfect sense that, you need to kind of create your own little biosphere, your own little,
Exactly. That's metal. What you just explained is a metal activity. A biosphere is a metal energy field. It's metal. You
I'm winning all over the place here,
you're all over
guys.
the place. You really are. That's it.
I
Yeah.
love. And so people like hands on, after people are like, okay, now that you said that, I want to do this with Renee. I want to experience what these 9 movements are with Renee because I need my own biosphere. I need to do this. You do classes online all year round. And go to the website magicalintelligence.com. So with that, what would a class be like? Because right now we're talking about it and conceptually, and then what does a class look like? How is that structured?
Oh, great question. So I've got 2 classes, main classes that I have. The Magical Qigong class and then the Community Qigong class. The Magical Qigong class talks about the theory. I talk about everything in the book so I can educate and prepare you for each of the seasons and what to do. And then we do actual Qigong practice at the same time. The Saturday class, which is our community class, we just do the Qigong practices for a full hour. And my goal is to get you all primed up so that you have energy for the entire week as we're building up your nervous system, right?
Oh,
And yeah, and then I also do Tai Chi. There's a Tai Chi Center Tai Chi class, and I have an advanced Monday night class. In that class, we're everything under the sun. We're throwing out there. We're doing the Qigong. We're doing the magic. We're doing the meditation. We're doing the I Ching. We're doing everything gets thrown in there. That's just like that as Grandmaster says. We really go down the rabbit hole, basically.
I
But
love
so one class is a lecture and movement, and another class is just a movement. And then what I also like to do is teach people the 5 basic movements that you need to learn so that you can do the qigong before and after any kind of ritual or any kind of magical energetic thing that you need to be done. Is 5 basic movements. I ask them to memorize those basic movements because that will save your energy for the rest of your life. Everything else is like icing on the cake, basically.
So next you're going to tell us that you're like actually 300 years old and that you I
I don't know if it's going to be that old, but I'll be around for a while.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I love that you threw in there also, other kind of movements, because that's what I was thinking, like, what does this look like? And you kind of helped with that. So now my next question is, what is your students like? What is the range? Is it adults, pagan, all of those things? Describe your students.
Oh, well, right now all of my students are all elder witches and practitioners. So I have the pleasure of working with experienced professional witches who are not just professional witches, but they're also working professional. They're either paralegals or school teachers or computer scientists or something like that. And they understand energy. So I get the pleasure of throwing all this stuff at them, and they're going to tell me if it's working or not, you know what I mean, which is great, you know. And also, I'm open to working with anybody that needs help or just wants to get a good practice in. So, so my field is much bigger than that, but I do enjoy working with the occult community of energetic people and sharing this information with them so that they can improve their lives. And it's just a wonderful, beautiful group of individuals, practitioners, ladies with, in their 50s, 60s, and 70s with a little twinkle in their eye, with great sense of humor, highly knowledgeable, and just great, great practitioners and good people, you know. And when we get together, we're going to be having our yearly retreat in August, and it's just a party. It's just a party. We do 4 days of qigong and magic and eating and exploring and getting and getting the information, exploring the information, and just having fun. It's just what we do, you know.
Um, Where are you located on the globe? Just in case somebody actually wants to join your magical energy parties.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's in Los Angeles. I'm in Los
Oh,
Angeles area. Yeah, yeah. Not far from Venice.
I am loving this. Jenny, what else comes to your mind that our listeners might want to know or that you're just curious about? Because I'm curious about the whole thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. We had talked to Renee for like a really long time. I think, I would think people would like to know a little bit more about the book because if they can't do the classes, the book is like, available online, correct? And then maybe telling them a little bit about how they would use it. That would be helpful.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. So, thank you, Jenny. I'm really bad at self promotion, so my wife
We're
is
here
like,
to help you. We're here to
Yeah.
help you.
"Be good."
Yeah, we know what they want. They want to hear about the book. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is my book, Magical Qigong, Awakening the Dragon. This is the first of a series of books that I'm going to be coming up, releasing. And it's not that big, but it's a really good, simplistic view of Chinese medicine in a way that it's going to be very a matter of fact and very simple to read and understand. And then I go into the explanation of the meridians and where they are. You don't have to memorize it, that's not really the point, but just give you some background, the 5 elements and why they are important to understand, the 5 organ systems connected with that. And then and also in the back, I have all the different movements that you can do, so you can follow me in this book as well. This is for the stomach meridian, right? And the healing center for the stomach. And this is for the liver, basic system, and just follow all of these, the scooping and all this kind of stuff. Um, I've had one person a long time ago who I'd never met. I was doing a presentation at Hexenfest. I don't know if you know what Hexenfest is. It's another witch festival that happens in Northern California in Ukiah. And she had walked up to me. She said, "Renee, I bought your book and I followed your book. And before I got the book, I had arthritis in my legs, and I could hardly walk. And after like 6 months, just following your book, I'm able to walk 5 miles."
Wow. Wow. And I want people to say, if you're listening and you're not watching, when he's showing us the book, that's like full colored photographs
Yeah,
of him doing the movement. So, like instead of the old school way with the really tiny little sketch of a person that you were like, I don't know what that means. These are very large photos. They're very clear. And so it'd be very easy for someone to look at the photo, read the directions, and follow along.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for Jenny. Thank you for that. Yeah, yeah. And I could say I was inspired by my master teacher, Rene Collins, who he actually did the same thing with this book, Qigong prescription, but he doesn't have the picture back there. He just has a figure. So, but yeah, but that this book inspired this book basically.
And Now you just said a series. I mean, can we go there? Because you said a series, and I'm like, what is this? Spill
Oh,
the tea,
yes.
Renee. Spill the
Yes.
tea.
Thank you. Yes, yes. Well, in fact, I just had I do free consultations, by the way. So if you want a free consult, uh, go to my website and book a session. It's a free consult. And what I do is I spend about a good hour with you and talk about what your needs are, put together your own particular flow, your individual flow, and we just move on from there and learn about my classes. I just had somebody just before I got on this call, and I was telling her that when I went to Spirit Northwest, I had a dream. I was surrounded by all the witch elders, and they're looking at me and goes, Renee, you need to release those books now. Telling me,
Yes.
oh, okay, I better get going. Yes, so I have at least 5 books from this that I have planned. I've been teaching this for close to a decade, and my students have been taking meticulous notes to that there are these books. So I need to edit that and release those. And so there's going to be a series of magical qigong practices where we work up from this is just the beginner to like another almost beginner phase. There are going to be 5 phases where we go through foods, what kind of foods you can eat during the
Mhm.
season, what kind of herbs you can take, during the seasons. What's the magical impact of certain practices, and what qigong practices to target for a magical practice or something like that. Then we go into things like the I Ching. I Ching is a divination system. It's a power divination system. I recommend that people at least become exposed to it because it can answer a lot of questions and give a lot of answers. Can that be applied to the practice, to the magical practice? And then the profound spiritual aspects of yin and yang, down to the beginning of the universe. What does that mean? How does the void tap into? For instance, we all make a circle whenever we do a ceremony. The
Right.
circle is zero, which is nothingness. We're trying to recreate the beginning of the universe so that we can actually plant something, right? So we're going back to the beginning whenever we're doing a magical
Right?
magical, right? So these are all the different things that I have coming up, that's cooking, coming up down the pipe as I'm moving forward with this kind of stuff.
Well, I agree with the elders. Get on it, Renee. Come on.
I know.
That's right. We're a part. The elders sent us.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you.
And now
Wait,
you're
can
accountable.
we
If you
back
are
up?
enjoying this show, you can support it by liking, subscribing, and sharing. Also, connect with us. Leave a comment. Text the show option wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave a review or email us at beliefbeingbeyond@gmail.com. Also, I'm on Patreon, where a small donation goes a long way. Find this and more episodes at granddaughtercrow.com. Thank you. Now back to the show.
You're
Can
accountable.
we back up? Can you talk about that? Because you just dropped like a mind-blowing moment when you said that when we create ritual circle,
Yes.
that's zero
Yes.
because we are at a creation.
Yes. We're going back to the beginning of creation so that we can start from the beginning to create something. And because so in every system that I've studied, I looked at, there's always a nothingness, right? And out of nothing comes everything, right? It's kind of hard to create something when you have a lot of clutter. So when you're creating magical space, not just getting rid of the clutter, you're trying to go back to the beginning of when there was nothing in the universe, so you can plant the roots so they can grow into the something that you wish to occur in the present moment. I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
Look, it makes so much sense that I'm like, oh, is that what I've been doing?
Right?
It's like, but that makes so much sense because, a lot of times, in the pagan community, in the, whatever spiritual community, when we do cast that circle, people now draw in and add the consciousness that really when you're holding sacred space, you're clearing out a space, a garden, a position where you then get to, plant things. And then after you go through all of your ritual and you're flying around the room, you visit Rene and he'll get you back in your body.
That's right. If you're, it's so funny. The client, a client that I have, she just had a major initiation to where she became highly psychic to the point to where it put her in the hospital
Right.
because she's now talking to animals and stuff like that. But she's grounded. She didn't lose herself. She just needed some spiritual insulation, basically, right? And the flying around. And so we just had a whole session about, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. Come to my class. She goes, I'm there. So we were able to pull her back, pull her in, and get her reconfigured back into this place without having the burnout, right? Because people can burn out, people can take on too much energy, and then your nervous system isn't strong enough, and you can blow something out. And I've seen that happen. I've seen it happen to my first brother in magic. He ended up in a psych ward
Mm.
because he on an initiation, he wasn't ready. He couldn't keep up with the demands of the practice, and he went schizophrenic.
Hmm.
And
That's
I had to go.
it's so true, Renee. And I think that the best way for our audience to understand what that is this understanding of when I go through an awakening, everybody thinks that I'm all floating in the sky with my little mudras and my, crisscross applesauce. But the reality is sometimes you're like sick and you fall ill and everything, and oh, I just went through an awakening, now I'm like really ill, and that even happens to me. And
Mhm.
this is something that helps us to strengthen the physical body, to
Yes,
prepare for the spirit that you we are calling in when we're calling in all this stuff, the physical body and the nervous system.
that's
Talk just
exactly.
a little bit about that, because I actually, the older that I'm getting, the more that I see that I need to strengthen my nervous system, the more I'm like, I need to go walk, not for the sake of losing weight or looking cute or whatever, more for the purpose of how am I supposed to embody this, spirituality at this point. So, yeah, talk to us a little bit more about that, because I think that that's something that is very common and we're calling it out. And even though, the listeners haven't heard about, how bad it can go if you fall off the tree because you weren't prepared, the tree of life, the Kabbalah, but,
Right.
and you tumble down, but because you fall just as high as as
Oh
deep
my
as
God.
you fall all the way down. The higher you get, the lower you can fall.
It's
We won't
it's a
go into that.
it's a
But
hard fall. It's a hard
it's a
fall. It really
hard
is.
fall. And
Hard fall.
but then even just for people who are like, oh my goodness, I do feel like I'm so spiritually that I need to get back in. And oh, I have ritual hangovers, which is a thing, and
Yep.
all of that. Talk
Yes.
a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah. So when we are, so I like to say that we're well. There are a couple things that are happening. Some people may not have been utilizing or understanding what's been going. So there's energy leaks. Sometimes you're casting a circle, you got an energy leak, and you don't know you got an energy leak. So now it's a double whammy because now you're sending out energy for a specific thing, and then you got an energy leak at the same time. All right. So I call that casting on empty, right? So there's casting on empty, right? There is so casting on empty. There is the spirit leaks or energy leaks, and then there's like power or it's false power energy, right? False power energy is when you think you have energy, you just drink too much coffee, basically. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I'm king of the world. No, you just drank a bunch of Red Bull. That's what you just did. So you need to sit that stuff down, right? That's borrowed energy. You're borrowing the energy, right? Right. And then casting on empty energy leaks. That's a big thing. Casting on empty is a really thing to look at, important thing to look at, because we're sending energy out. That energy is not coming back,
Hmm.
and at least not in a form that you can take in again. So what you need to do is, I recommend you do. So I have my five qigong movements that you do. They tonify and strengthen the nervous system and the energy system. Do those five movements. Do your spells. And when you close shop, do your 5 again to fill back up the battery again. So that's one of the things that I recommend for people to do.
So many mic drop moments in here. I mean, to add to, any of your workings that you're doing, magical workings and doing just these movements. So we do have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Um, you are of service. You are here for the people. You are caring for the people, and you have all of this wisdom and embodied knowledge. And you are helping the pagan community get back in their body, which I think is crucial at this time. So, with all of this, what does Renee do for Renee? Or, moreover, like, what matters most to you?
uh, what do I do? That's a hard question for me to ask.
It
I
is.
spend a lot of time, So I lately what I've been doing, which has been really healing for me. If I, I'm doing so much qigong and I'm teaching, so I'm doing my qigong while I'm teaching, so I'm getting full in. Uh, I go for walks in nature, and I live in an area where there's a ton of nature. There's hiking trails and trees and views of all of LA, and I just spot the energy. There's a frequency of energy within nature. It's kind of a buzzy energy. You might have seen it. When you relax your eyes a little bit, and sort of you can see like the heat or there's and sometimes sometimes it's a snow, sometimes it's line, sometimes it's a so I just commune with that force, with that force, and just take it in. And I play this African music, and I just go into another zone. I walk very slow usually at sundown, when the sunlight is pink, and I can look at the sun rays and take it all into my system. And I just do a slow walk through the nature and just release that way. And then I have energy for the rest of the day because I'm pretty much high functioning person. I'm
Sure.
running a company and I've got 2 kids and a wife and I'm building a business and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And the thing that I
Boy.
do is just walk in nature, just walk and commune in the nature, focus in on all the energy, commune with the plants, focus on the creator, listen to what the creator has to say, any messages from that, and just settle into the zone of sunset, the sunset zone, basically, I like to call
I don't know if you're a hypnotist, but all of a sudden I'm like in this weird meditative state because I'm like, I'm in the sunset zone, people.
it.
I am in the sunset zone. So, Jenny, what else is going on in your mind? What do we want to know about? Or is it time to ask the final question? We're trying to squeeze out all the information that we can out of Rene Collins. We're here, magicalintelligence.com.
Yeah, before the last question, in your class that I took, you talked a little bit about working with elementals, and I think you specifically said fairy and fae.
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
would just love for you to just touch on that briefly for people to just kind of learn about your experience and
Oh,
yeah.
sure, sure. So I'm a student of the House of Bree, which is I don't have the book on me right now. His name is Orion Foxwood. Orion Foxwood. He's my elder. He's my witch, one of my witch elders, along with Starhawk and Patchamacaulum. These are all elders of mine. And Orion Foxwood is uh, how can I put it? I mean, talk about a laundry list of accomplishments that he's done. He's actually married to a fairy queen who's actually a primordial. So she's beyond. She existed before the Earth cooled, basically. And
Wow.
her goal, her name is Bree, and her goal was to evolve humankind, and she chose Orion to do this. And Orion and her, they married together. And I don't know if you know Dolores Ashcroft, who is So Dolores Ashcroft is the Dwicki. She's the founder of like one of the largest occult schools in the world. She was trained under Israel Regardie. She just passed away a few months ago, but she was the vessel for that being to come, so they can marry, right? So he put together this thing called the House of Brie, and it's the traditional fairy magic as it was practiced some several thousand years ago. My wife and I are students of his. So through that initiation, I have my connections with the Fae, with the creatures of or the creatures of the underworld. What's their job? They are completely committed to maintaining this planet. That's what they do. That's all they care about. They love this planet. There are the energies that form the planet, basically. And so they are the underworld beings that we connect to, that I will go down and dip myself into and have conversations. We all have a fairy companion that we connect with. And the Chinese system, before Christianity, with Buddhism and Christianity, before all that, they actually revered the fairies, right?
Wow.
Right? And in fact, my grandmaster would talk about, you know, the creatures of the land, you know, the fairies that live in the land, you know. So this is a universal thing. This isn't just uh, uh, a thing of Europe or Ireland, or this is in Africa. They're everywhere,
Right.
and so we just have a relationship with them and we connect with them. The idea is that we enter into a relationship with them so we can heal the planet, to do the will of the planet, to do the will of the eternal, basically, because they don't have any will but to do the will of the universe, and that's the next jump for humanity if they decide to do it or not. I know most of us here on this call probably will. It's not my will, Lord, but thy will. So what has to get done? Oh, am I going to be the janitor today? I guess I'm being the janitor today. Okay, I'm just going to be the janitor for the human soul, whatever that looks like. Well, the Fae is also, they are the mechanisms in which the higher consciousness can then spread and then elucidate and lift up the planet and nature, the forces of nature and evolution, basically.
There
That's
you
all.
go. Yeah, that's all,
Yeah,
people. We're just talking about the planet and thousands of years ago. Oh my goodness. You are an amazing teacher, lecturer, happy Buddha kind of energy, and I have absolutely enjoyed this. So, Jenny, do you want to ask the last question?
Yeah, so our last question, since it's belief, being, and beyond, is, and it's very open-ended, we like to ask, what do you think lies beyond?
Okay, well, you have to invite me in for that one. I have to go over there. But what lies beyond ourselves, our true nature. So Bob Marley was asked, "How long were you a Rastafarian?" And he just kind of, when people ask these questions, you could see in his face. He goes, "What? What do you? What do you? What do you nuts?" Okay. Well, we like to say that we were Rastafarian during the foundation when the earth was put together, basically. So if you were to investigate ourselves, there is no place where we did not exist. We cannot find a beginning or an end of our soul. We can't. If you try to sit back and go, okay, I was born here. Wait, no, there's I'm still existing. Even though there's darkness, I'm still there's no beginning or end, right? So what lies beyond is ourselves. We're still at the beginning of the universe. We're still there. We're just there with the creator, channeling and forcing energy into this place, experiencing this place together. But we're still there. We're gonna find ourselves.
Oh my goodness. I love that. I absolutely love that. So Renee is here with us tonight, and magicalintelligence.com. A lot of times people me included. I am granddaughter Crow. I'm up in the universe. I don't just fly around the room, people. I go out into the mystery void. I go down into I'm all over the place. And yet I need to remember how to do some movements. I need to remember how to take care of the physical body because it is what it's going to be impacted by all of the magic, and I absolutely love it. Renee, is there anything else that you wanted to say before we sign off? Yeah, I mean, there's so much. There's so much. There's so much.
Well, I just want to say thank you for. It's really it's a blessing for me to have you come on and do this. It's really just a blessing. So thank you so much for having me come on. Um, Also, if you want anybody wants a free consult, just go to the Magical Intelligence and book a free consult with me. I'd be happy to meet with you and to work with you and to see what challenges you're dealing with and see if I can help alleviate them.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. And if you know somebody who needs to, you're like, oh, my aunt, my sister, all of that, tell them about what's going on with magicalintelligence.com and let them get a free consult as well. And let's go ahead and embody spirit so that we can evolve as a human race and hold spirit consciously. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And to you listeners, make sure that you are very cognizant of your own body. And if it is telling you something, listen and figure it out. Remember breath work. We got to take Renee's class to create your own biosphere and all of the support. We love you guys and we'll see you on the flippity flip.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Belief, Being, and Beyond. Please subscribe and share with whomever would enjoy this podcast. And please leave us a review. We really, really appreciate that. For more about Granddaughter Crow, granddaughtercrow.com. There you can learn about her classes, sessions, and all of her books. And for more about Ginny C. Bell, please visit ginnycbell.com, where you can learn about her books, her classes, and Our Coven community. Thank you so much for listening.